What's going on, guys and girls? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the podcast. I have been toying with the idea of starting a podcast for quite some time now, and it felt nostalgic and a bit of a full circle moment to have this gentleman as the first guest on the podcast, because I was the first guest on his podcast. Yeah. So the podcast theme is kind of going to be centered around the three pillars, which I spend a lot of time working on. They're the core tenets of my business, which is health, wealth, and mindset. Obviously, I'm interested in cars. So are you. I'll have some dad stuff, some lifestyle stuff, and everything in between. But the premise for the podcast is going to be my three pillars, which is health, wealth, and mindset. So I'll let you introduce yourself, but the man sitting in front of me is also a bit of a serial entrepreneur. He's interested in his health, his wealth, and his mindset. He's got a cool little business. He's got his fingers in a few pies. And our guest today is Nav. So Nav, if you want to introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thanks, George. Definitely feels quite a surreal moment coming here doing a podcast with you, considering that was how I started a little bit on my social media journey as well. Nav Shah, founder of Flex Fitness Equipment. As you said, I've dabbled onto so many businesses from the age of 10 all the way to now. And currently my main business is Flex, and I also invest in quite a bit of commercial property. So that's where my 2025 passion has kind of been. Leading into 26, I think business and the cross between property is where I think a lot of people need to focus on. And that's what I kind of talk about on social media as well.
Cool. Nice. So let's start from the beginning. Take us back before Flex Fitness even existed. Where were you? What were you doing? What was the moment that sort of founded and gave birth to Flex?
Yeah. I brought up in Kenya. So I'm brought up in Kenya, moved here at the age of 14. Prior to that, spent a lot of my life at my dad's shop. So my dad has a little hardware store and a gift store in Kenya. So from the age of my earliest memories are like 5, 6, where I remember selling watches. I remember selling like printing stuff. Learned how to drive at the age of 7. So for me, that's my earliest childhood memories. I don't actually have any memories around like playing video games or going to the park or anything like that. So a lot of the time I've spent has been inside someone's shop. That's where I got the passion for business. I've always been surrounded by people who have talked about money, and the relationship we have in our family has always been like, buy this, do that, this is how we grow. It's never been, let's be a close family because we love each other. So the love part hasn't been as prominent. So even to date, I still find it weird, like maybe hugging my mom or my dad, just because we've just never done it, right? You've always been like, go to the shop, come here, do that. So that's where my business journey started. When I moved to Australia, I started selling phone covers at school. So I'd go to the local shops, buy a phone cover, go back to school, sell it. And then with Flex, how it started was I was with a friend at Fitness First, and we were training, and we saw this spin room, and we were like, that's interesting. They've now got price tags on all the spin bikes. So we walked in, and the guy said, it's $200 a bike, and we took all the bikes. And that's kind of how the fitness equipment space started. It wasn't necessarily that I was dead set on fitness per se. It was the fact that I loved buying and selling. So that's how the fitness business kind of started. Post that, I've owned a lot of gyms, yoga studios, F45s, food trucks, cafes, so many things. And now sole focus is on Flex.
Cool. So I know a little bit about the Flex story anyway. Started from the garage, and then now it's become a bit of a big thing. How many stores today?
Yeah. So I think we have 7. We're across, in terms of physically, we're across in Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, and New Zealand as well. New Zealand for us is growing rapidly. Very lean model over in New Zealand, which is something that I really like, considering how conventional we are here in Perth, especially with how the next generation of business is in Australia at the moment. I think the whole way we were set up was more for when we started in 2013. The journey now is a bit different. 7 stores across the country. Hopefully have Melbourne up next.
Nice. And obviously you've built Flex into a bit of a beast that it is today. What what is the, I guess, the problem, or what is the niche that Flex is trying to insert itself into? What's your guys' point of difference in the market?
Yeah, so the big point of difference is when we think about who are we trying to sell equipment to, we're talking to someone who's between 30 and 40. They have a young family, they don't have time. They're trying to get a workout done between kids, or they don't have time between work, driving back home. So that's the kind of person that we do in-store. Apart from that, we have now expanded quite heavily into the commercial space. So we work with big names, including Fitness Cartel, World Gym, Revos, and all the likes, to start expanding our commercial line. For years, we never needed to worry about our sales per se, because year on year we've grown. Every year we grow 20%, 30% since I started. And as we've done that, so has our team. So from zero age to now, we've got a lot of our staff who are still in the company, and that's allowed us to have the time to focus on the commercial side. We've just never needed to worry about it. And now with that energy and with the way I feel fitness is now coming back, or gyms are coming back, it's crazy. It's like the sales we do from a few commercial sales is enough to, the same sort of equivalent per store over a year. So yeah, it's crazy.
I think as well, we were having this discussion yesterday, the focus on health, definitely in the last 5 years, kind of like I like to call it the cosmic balance. One of the cosmic balances to come from COVID is that everybody sat down and said, do you know what, actually I'm not very healthy. I need to start looking after myself. I need to start going to the gym. And, I was able to be ignorant to this before, but when I'm in lockdown and when I've spent 10 weeks in the house or 6 weeks in the house, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah,
and it's kind of started this journey of now everyone's got a sauna and an ice bath. 5 years ago, you were, a conspiracy theorist if you had an ice bath, and now everyone's got one, and it's kind of this, I think it's this trend.
And that's it. And a lot of, I think, when you stop and look at who is training these days, a lot more than, it's all the young guys, right? Between 20 and 30. Our age are still kind of confused, right? Like, okay, we're starting to go to the gym, but we're also partying a lot, or we're also doing other things, not to as much as the guys who are in 20, 25. And the reason I come to that is that they just missed it, right? Through COVID, they just missed going out, so they don't actually know what they're missing out on. And now they're just supercharged. Like some of the 25-year-olds I meet are just insane. And they all, work out 2 times a day. They have the time to do it. They allocate the money for what they would use on Friday night drinks to that. So for me, it's just crazy. And again, for me, I've gone to Sydney, I've gone to Melbourne, I've currently relocated to Brisbane, and I feel so bad that Perth is still stuck in this weird-ass mindset where people are still partying and still going out, still doing things that are not resulting in true connection, right? So for me, when I look at people and that the people I aspire to over East, it just makes you a better all-rounder man. Whether it is your family, whether it is your partner, whether it is your kids, whether it is your business. You look at some of the guys there, you feel motivated to be that.
I often use this as a bit of a quote, right? If you've ever spent any amount of time in a physically optimized state, you will want to stay there. It's addictive for a number of reasons. The quality of the conversations you're having, your ability to retain information, your sleep, your energy, your focus, everything about your cognitive ability, your physical ability is just high flying. If you sit in that period of time for a while, you're like, okay, this is the cheat code. Business is good. Relationship with my partner is good. How I can show up as an individual, as a dad, is just everything is on steroids right now. This is good. I like it here. And you want to stay there. And I think that younger people now are starting to realize that more. I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in some international entrepreneurial circles. I've been to a few cool conferences over the years, and that's kind of the common theme among all the young guys. I'm 32 now, right? So all the young guys who are really moving the needle, they are all in that boat. I've met some 17, 18-year-olds who are doing 500K a month on e-com. They're not going out. They're not getting bottle service in the club. No. They're not, taking drugs and none of that stuff. They're locked in. And I'm like, I was doing stupid shit at 17.
And I guess the thing there is that they're not necessarily doing that, when people say if you are partying and stuff and you're going, well, I don't need the money, so I don't need to work hard. But it's not that. It's just everything around you just becomes so much easier. Where sometimes people go, oh, well, I'm comfortable. Why should I work as hard as Nav? Well, I'm not for me, it's not necessarily the money either. But when you're in that, it just becomes easier to make more money.
Yeah.
So you're just like, well, why would I say no?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, you're in flow, you're in sync.
Yeah.
And I think, you meet people that have that. You meet someone from time to time and they've got the X factor,
Yeah.
right? You meet them and you're like, I need to have lunch with that person.
Yeah.
I need to spend a bit more time with that person. I need to buy that person a coffee. Typically speaking, that person is not normally 140 kilos and eating McDonald's every night.
Yeah.
That person has an aura about them. They got the X factor. Physical optimization.
Well, that's it. And like, I don't go to the gym to, kind of now starting to, but I don't necessarily go to the gym to wanting to have a six pack or to be ripped. It's just that de-stress kind of feeling to, feel different. And you notice small changes every day, and that's what gives you that feeling. Oh man, I love it. Whether it is your sauna or your gym or you lift a bit more, but it's so important to get that feeling from somewhere, because how often is it that people come and tell you, George, you've done a great job? Not very often, right? Especially as a successful entrepreneur. But what you will find is like you go, oh, I lifted 10 kilos yesterday. This week I'm doing 15. Good stuff, Nav. It's your way of like recognizing for yourself, like you're doing well, right? Like, and your body changes and you're like, well, I don't need anyone to tell me I look good or not. I can see, right? Like, or I don't need anyone to say that, good job at running flex. Not many people do it genuinely, but it's a way for you the gym is a way for you to get that for yourself, I think.
Bit of self-mastery.
Yeah.
So just to finish up on the flex, looking back now, what's one thing you wish you knew before you started flex that would have saved you a lot of time and headaches?
I think it's not so much before. Like, I think we've been on the right trajectory and stuff. I think it's more so not getting carried away too much in like that growth in a different. So, for example, I think the way we started, great. The way we're going now is great. Currently, the way we're growing is exactly how we started, but in the middle, we kind of lost track a little bit. Whether that was, post-COVID, supply chain, my personal goals being distracted to flex. So whether I got diverted into other things, or as a business we diverted into other things, product mix and stuff like that. So for me, I think how we started flex to how we're now is fine. It's just not getting lost in. When you do something for 10 years, as a job, someone can work 9 to 5, they change their job every 3-4 years, and they get that change that they want. When you're running a business and it's your main business, you don't change. You get stuck in a particular point in time at 7 years or 6 years, and you're like, oh, well, it's the same shit every day. And at that point, you either lose track of the business or you find something else to distract your brain or to keep you motivated. And that's what we did. We got distracted with other things, and as a result, the business may have suffered for a couple of years, and now we're coming back out of that. So for me, it's more like, recognize that you have stuffed up, and try to refocus and go from there. A lot of people do it, and it's so important to say, like, why am I starting all these businesses? Is it because I have an issue with someone else or something else, and I'm now trying to chase that same growth from something else? Maybe solve that problem versus trying to just divert your attention from something else.
I think it's also, when you have that entrepreneurial spark, you sort of have this like umbrella mentality of everything that's going on. That can take, as you just said, years, potentially even decades for that to play out. Yeah. So in the pursuit of doing it, sometimes you're like, oh, hang on a minute. I can speak in my own experience. That's happened to me. Like when I started QC, I had this whole ecosystem, which is still the same plan that it was initially. Yeah. Health, wealth, mindset, all these other spin-offs. But I went and did some personal development education, and I learned about how to acquiring additional businesses. And I'm like, cool. Opened up this can of worms of acquiring additional businesses, and my wife and I sat down and we sort of revamped and reviewed a few things, and we were like, things aren't going as well as we thought they were going to, and we sort of lost track a little bit. We sat down and I'm like, it's because I'm over here with the shiny ball syndrome of buying and acquiring a bunch of new businesses. That wasn't on the whiteboard. No. We had this entire umbrella thing that would work and will still work, but in the pursuit of some of those things, sometimes you lose track of the bigger picture. And when something comes up, you're like, I call it the horny rabbit syndrome. Yeah. If you've ever done any personal development, you become a yes man and you just want to hump everything. You say yes to everything. So yes, yes, yes.
And I guess like we all have to learn that for ourselves, right? We can't just I can go and tell some 20-year-old, just stay focused on one thing. He's not going to do it. I didn't do it. You didn't do it.
No.
But we learn later.
Nature.
Yeah. So I think it's more You just kind of have to fail a few times, hope that it doesn't cost you too much, and then kind of like build off from that.
But I think you also need that too, because it's a quick reality check. Like I use this example in some of I've got a trading education thing that I've launched recently, and I say to some of the guys, you actually need to risk an amount of money that hurts when you lose it. Otherwise, you don't learn anything, right? It's not just this up-only mentality of wins, wins, wins. You need a sting. You need a gunshot wound to the leg. You're not going to die from it, but you've got to stitch it up and move on.
100%. I lost, I think, at least $1 million. I've lost $1 million in opening gyms that I didn't need to open.
Yeah.
Right. Fuck. Yeah. But would I make that same mistake ever again? No.
Yeah.
And, gyms are great business models to open now, right? In the next 5-10 years, they're going to boom. But if you have a gym, you have a cafe, you have a food truck, you have flex, you have, you're buying and selling cars, it's not going to work. There's only one nav, right? And yes, you can think you're a guru at like delegating and like managing people and stuff. Yeah. But if you spend 90%, I spend 90% of my time at Flex, there's no way those gyms are going to work, right? Whereas you see people who run multiple gyms and they run it perfectly fine. Because that's all they're running, right? They don't have other things. And so for me, I've always had that itch of going, fuck, I need to do something else. So now what I do with that itch is I just go buy a property, right? And that's how I fix that like weirdness feeling going, I want to grow somewhere else.
I want to do something.
Yeah.
I think it's important to mention as well, when you speak to someone that's highly successful, they will always say something cliche like, oh, well, I've got multiple income streams. That's actually bullshit. Yeah. Most people who are very, very successful, they dug one well very deeply. Yeah. Then that well hit water and they used the disbursement of said well to invest in other things, for example, commercial property, right? Yeah. And I think, for younger people, they're like, oh, well, I've got to have multiple income streams. No, you don't. Just get a big shovel and dig one hole and dig that hole until you hit water and then use that to disperse.
And that's it. And that's probably what I got lost in, right? Like Diwali, which is what we're currently in, there's a lot of celebrations and stuff like that. And so for me, this whole multiple business thing is very traditional in the sense that that's how we were brought up. Like my dad's mentality is like have many. Why? Because when you pray during Diwali, you pray for your business to be successful and whatever. And even this year, the priest goes to me as we did the ceremony. He goes to me, okay, I pray that you have another. So we pray to our books. So we put our flex book and we put our investment book. So the more books you have, that means the more businesses you have. Sure. So he goes, I hope next year you have another book here, right? I mean, more success, right? And now when I start to think about it, I was like, no, I don't want another book there.
I just want these two to be bigger books.
I just want these books to get thicker.
Correct, yeah.
Right? But like we just look at it more like, and I think a lot of ethnic people might look at it that way. The more businesses, the more books you have, the more successful you are. So wrong. So wrong. I wish that book just got thicker, as you said.
Yeah, correct, yeah. Okay, so commercial property, when did you diversify or when did you decide to diversify into commercial property? Was it always part of the plan? Was it something that triggers it? Obviously, you and I have different exposure to different asset classes. Property is your thing. Yeah. Why commercial property?
I think, so the first part of the question, when was probably at the same time. So my uncle, who is in Perth, has always had investment in commercial property. So he had his main business and then he had investments in commercial property. Okay. And my first warehouse that we started at Flex was one of his and we rented it off him. Now, at the time, I was like, why is he spending so much money on these buildings? And like, they're growing at a small rate, whereas we're making bank on Flex. Let's just open more businesses. And that's where I got the other idea. I was like, I'll do something different to him, right? We'll open more businesses instead of just sticking to one business. And that's where I started spending a lot of money and failing and going, shit, I've just blown so much money. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I'll just test with one. And that was probably maybe 7-8 years ago. I'm 37 now. So yeah, just maybe 28, right? 10 years ago. And it was just a small unit and that's how it started. As for why, my in terms of resi, like I think I have 3 houses, but the difference with resi is it's very emotional based, right? You wait for the house next to you sell for a little bit more. You wait for you to renovate the house, or you like that suburb more than this suburb. So for me, it's very emotion driven or time. It takes longer. Whereas with commercial property, if you know how to play the game right, you can manipulate it within that time period. So within that same year, $1 million thing can become $2 million. So for me, it's like when you get that initial taste of that is the quickest and the fastest way to grow your net wealth, that's how you should do it. nowadays, the biggest challenge has obviously been the capital needed. So for a first home, you pay 5% deposit, 10% deposit, you can get in straight away. Whereas with commercial property, you generally need 30% to start. But so for me, it's like, yes, people already go, well, commercial property, you're thinking $1 million straight away. No. Like, you can start at 350 grand, 400 grand. You can get a small unit. 30% of that is less than what you'll buy a house these days for 850 grand.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, it's just a faster way of wealth accumulation. But it's also cheaper, right? People are looking at the minimum now for a house to buy as an investment property is like 800 grand. I get, people think that you can't get small warehouses for under 500. You can. I get so many people message me, where is this, under 500,000 property? There is plenty. Perth has quite a few. Nirrumbuk, for example, up north, there's lots of little warehouses and stuff like that. The difference is people don't buy a house and land package for resi, right? You're not supposed to do that generally, because the builder takes a lot of the profit out of the deal. Yes, in 10 years' time, that house will be worth more.
Yeah.
But you can't instantly flip that and make more money. Whereas in commercial property, I've had units. I just did one, in Aussie Park. Built Form Capital, here's a shout out. So they built these luxury underground units, right? I paid $450 for one of mine. And this was 3 years ago, right? So when is it? 22, we bought this unit for $450K, luxury, for networking, really nicely laid out.
Yeah, good facilities. I've seen the photos. It looks
good.
Cool.
Crazy, right? 450 grand. Yes, it's a small unit, 150 square meters, but I only paid a $30K deposit in 2022. I didn't pay the balance till now. You're telling me that property is not grown in value by now.
It has.
Of course it has. So my $30K that I paid, which is the price of this watch, it just became double. So that same $30K, I can now get out of it. I could probably, if I went back to the bank and I said, hey, look, this is a $450K property I bought, I've settled it, now it's worth $750. Give me my money back. They're going to give me my money back.
Of course.
So, people just get carried away in it's too expensive. Commercial property is too expensive. It's too hard for me. Even yesterday we were at that chat where this other person said, I'm a startup. I need to just get VC funding or something like that. I can't go to the bank. You can go. Just ask the question.
Yeah.
Go talk to them. Understand it for yourself rather than just having it in your head that you can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? People get sucked up in just thinking that they can't do it.
Yeah, well, he was asking about giving away equity as well, which, you're going to lose equity in your business just to get some capital.
Yeah.
Money tends to be a pretty easy problem to solve.
Yeah.
I think as well, obviously your forte is commercial property. I fell victim to the buy a home in your early 20s Aussie dream, right? Which is complete horseshit. If anybody hasn't worked that out by now, home ownership in your early 20s, the Australian dream, is a complete fugazi. And I fell victim to that because I was like, I've got to get a property. If I evaluate that decision making and think about what the ROI for a business or doesn't even need to be commercial, could have been another business venture, could have been in the financial markets, my percentage ROI versus what I got out of sitting on that residential property for 5 years, great, it's a place to live. If your objective is safety and security and you come from an unstable childhood, sure, that's fine. But if buying a residential property for the purpose of capital growth and ROI, there is just about every other asset class will outperform that.
So just on that, I agree. The difference in that is, so if someone was to ask me right now, Nav, are you going to buy residential or commercial right now, right? I still say, so if I was to start out, I would still encourage resi. But why? Because if this is so someone asked me, yes, on social media we all post shit to get click and stuff like that and get more followers, whatever. But if someone asked me today, Nav, it's my first house, what do I do? What do I go buy? I would still encourage go buy residential, right? My first house. But the difference is with the story that you said, which is you bought your own primary residence. I wouldn't do that. That's the biggest shamble ever. Why? Because you just get locked into no tax benefits, nothing, right? And you can't grow. You just get trapped into all my money is going into this. Whereas if you bought that as an investment, right? So for example, you can go and take advantage of your 5% home deposit. Yes, it is your first home. Live in it for 6 months, get out. Well, you don't have to stay there forever. Rent it out and move out to go back home. or rent a house somewhere else to take advantage of all those first homeowner grants and stuff like that. Now, once you get in, because now you're getting in for that 5%, 10%, that for me is, I want people to take advantage of those first homeowner grants and stuff like that to get into the property market for a cheap rate. Once you've got the first one, well, then after that, you can't get that first homeowner grants or your 5% deposit schemes anymore, because that's it. It's the first one done.
Yeah.
That's when you now decide, okay, are you going to go buy another $850,000 investment, or can I buy another cheaper small commercial unit, right? So for me, the first home has to be taking advantage of that low deposit schemes and stuff like that, because you can't actually get that free money otherwise, right? Or like stamp duty, like, you know, there's some exemptions on, like, you don't pay stamp duty at a certain level for your first term. So just maximizing all that free money that the government's giving you so that you can go into your next. The thing that you said, which is like your first home, I purely feel that that's more to do with you lived in it.
Yeah.
Should you have just rented it out and gone, and you'd have more serviceability.
Yeah.
So for example, right now, this is where I think I'm playing it well. For example, right, like I have a house I bought 2 years ago at the age of 36, my first house. I bought it. I think I paid $2 million bucks. As soon as I bought it, I felt that, oh, fuck, why did I buy it? I bought it for the security of a family. You know, we can raise the kids, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to move out. And then I decided to now wake up one day and go to Brisbane.
Yeah.
I could just sit on that house and not do anything, but I decided to rent it, right? So I've rented this house. It pays off my mortgage, no worries. I've gone to Brisbane. I rent there. The company pays for my rent because I'm now working in Brisbane as part of Flex, so I'm not paying my serviceability. So it's all about your serviceability, right? Yeah. So I've gone to Brisbane and I now live there. The company's paying for my rent. Happy days. I come back to Perth and I'm now going, well, I have so much serviceability now, right? I'm not locked in debt-wise on my personal name. So I've just bought another residential property, right? Which now I'm going to say that's my primary residence because I don't actually have any primary residence. I have a house in Brisbane that the company's paying. I now have this. It's a renovation sort of scheme thing where I'll buy it, we renovate it, it's slightly older, and then I'll decide whether I stay in it, or I flip it out again. So now, if it's my primary income, my serviceability is clean on my personal name, yes, I can buy it in a trust and stuff like that, but why would I buy it in a trust if I wanted to, say, even if I wanted to flip it or rent or anything like that? Whereas I don't have a primary residence. So taking advantage of that tax benefit in having it under my personal name to now going, cool, I'll renovate it, I will either rent it out and then buy again. Right, my next house. So it's just in the moment, based on your personal situations, maximizing the tax outcome and whatever else is available for you. Is how you decide between resi and commercial.
Yeah, and removing the emotional attachment to it.
Yeah, like so for now, like say this house, I have the option of literally flipping it within 3 months, making 300 grand.
Nice.
Or do I just keep it and forget about it? You know? Yeah.
Cool. So, what is this sort of answers that question a little bit. What's your investment philosophy? Are you a cash flow guy or are you an assets guy?
So cash flow, I look at it as your business, right? That's the one that's always giving you your money. Now, I don't buy property necessarily to chase that 6-7% return. Nah, like that's going to come regardless. For me, it's that long-term buy with never the intention to sell. Yeah. I've sold 1 or 2 residential properties that I owned previously. I bought this house so my mother-in-law was looking to buy an investment property as a house, right? And she was just nervous. She was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go through a buyer's agent. And I was like, you have to go through a buyer's agent. They'll educate you through the whole process. And look, fuck it, I'll buy one at the same time as you buying one. So we'll both go through this buyer's agent and we'll find a resi and we'll do it. So we bought this. I bought a house in Hillary's, for 600 grand, I think. 600 grand? Yeah, 600 grand. And she bought one for 600 grand. We bought it, luckily, 2020, right, just before it started going crazy. And then 23, I sold mine, and she kept hers. I sold mine because I didn't even want to buy it. I just, I did it with her. Yep. So I sold it, made 200, 300 grand profit because it went up to 900. Wow. Now the guy who bought it, he subdivided it because it was one that you can subdivide into three, and that's the advantages of buying through a buyer's agent. They can show you all those things and buy right. The guy subdivided it. Currently has 3 nice houses already. Sold one for $1 million. Hectic, right? All this in the space of what 2020? What are we in 25 now?
Yeah.
5 years. So it just shows that what you can do. And my mother-in-law, she still owns that house. She could also do the same, right?
Yeah.
She could subdivide it into two. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, sort of. I sort of know a little bit about your opinion on that anyway. So for someone that's listening and who's running a business or thinking about getting into property, what's the first step? What's the advice that you would give them?
Yeah, so 100% go in and take advantage of every possible tax benefit or government grant that is available. So whether it is your first homeowners grants, look into your stamp duty exemptions and stuff like that, so that you can get in smart, get into residential because it's your first property. Yeah.
Okay.
But
cool.
don't live in it long term.
No, of course not. Not primary residence. Yeah. Same with us, right? Like our property that we built, and then moved into, we now rent out. It's positively geared, pays for the mortgage.
Perfect.
We've rented for 4 of the last 5 years.
Yeah, but this is the thing.
And the house that we rent is way more expensive if I was to buy that house as a mortgage versus what we pay in rent.
But this is what I'm saying. So now you have so much spare capacity to go again because your serviceability is clean, right? So for me, yes, people can rent vest, but you have to vest. You don't just rent.
No, of course, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. You need to offset what you're saving by not living in the primary residence and do something with that. And if you can outperform the performance of what you pay on the loan, then...
Yeah. I have some friends who are dentists, right? And they moved out of... they were in Perth. They had all this serviceability because they had... I think they started renting out all their primary residences.
Right.
And as they moved out back to UK, I think they've gone for 2 years, I said, guys, take advantage of your serviceability. No one knows you're kind of leaving. Just take advantage, like buy those houses and rent them out straight away because your serviceability is so powerful right now. Use your serviceability and go. And they did that, right? They bought those houses or commercial property or something, and now they took advantage of that serviceability because if they just left, you have to know how to work with the banks.
Yeah, and leverage that to your advantage. Yeah. So, toughish question. What's been your biggest financial mistake or lesson in either business or property?
Business has really just been, starting too many things at the same time. Too distracted, spend so much money on buying all these businesses. I'm a startup guy. I've always started a business. So whether it is like I started the gym, I started Flay, started the food truck, started this. And the biggest realization from that was there should be only one startup, but you should invest in multiple businesses where the other person is as passionate as I am with Flex, with that business. So whether I now initially going from a model where I was taking 70% and giving away 30%, and now I'm doing the opposite. So I'm taking 30% and leaving them with 70%. So they feel like they need to run the business. It's their business. Yeah. Obviously investing in the person because it's the person who's going to drive the business.
Yeah.
As long as I can see the spark in that guy going, fuck, this he's going to do really well. Yeah. Well, then I'll invest in that business. So for me, it's moving from that mentality of doing the startup myself and putting in the hours and in the middle of the night I was in food truck at Elizabeth Quay, cleaning the gutters and stuff. Yet we have 30 staff at Flex at the time. It's like, what's going on? Why am I here? So for me, it was that big change. Yeah, that was the biggest mistake.
Learning where to place your time. That kind of leads into the next question. So you're juggling multiple businesses, you've got fingers in lots of different investments. How do you manage your time and stay focused and manage your energy levels with the amount of stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, and as I say, like I said this yesterday, it's all about doing everything in proportion every day to the fullest you can. Like today, you asked me last night, saying, hey, Nav, before you fly out, let's do this. So for me, it's more like this is a way for me to This is for me, right? So that means today I've given a little bit more to me. Yesterday I gave a little bit more to Flex. The day before I might have given a bit more to my family. So for me it's more like as long as I can feel that I've done a bit of everything, right? So today for me it's about this. It's about now meeting a lot of my friends before I leave tomorrow. So for me today is all about like trying to do all those things in balance as much as I can. There's no way I can say like I'm only going to work out and I'm going to be super active this month. or I'm going to be super focused on flex this month and nothing else. It's just like doing the best you can in all those different categories.
I listened to a McConaughey podcast once, and he mentioned, I forget the names of the 5 areas. I use 7 areas, but essentially those 5 areas, which encompasses a lot more than just money and business. You know, you have children, I have a child now. How are you going in terms of your family? How are you going in terms of your health? What's your relationship like with your wife? You know, there will be times where that will ebb and flow, and you've got to check in with that. And you've got to say, do you know what? I've been a bit of a shitty husband lately. I've got to pick up the slack. Haven't been there for my kids as much. Business, I've taken my eye off the ball a little bit. Revenues come down. You've got to recalibrate.
And we just got to keep hustling on all those areas. So, for example, as at the start of every year, I sort of goal set, right? And I don't just goal set just for flex or just for this. I look at all areas. I look at my extended family. I look at my immediate family. I look at my flex. I look at my cars. I actually have a thing for my cars. I look at my wife. I look at my kids. And I break down each area. And I say, this is what I'll achieve in this. This is what I'll achieve in this. And every day I try to do that to the little, like, as we say, you know, a lot of people talk about 1%. So if I did 1% better in flex today, if I did 1% better in my at home today. So for example, today, just before I got here, I tried to help Larissa pack the kids in the car, check out of the Airbnb, do as much as that as I can. And that's where I felt, oh yeah, I did it. Or I could have just left her to do it, which is not right? And now I'm going to come here, I'll do the best I can here, I'll go to flex and I'll do the best I can. Now, even if it means I don't answer 20 emails, it doesn't matter. I did the best I could.
Yeah. I think as well, I have a similar thesis. At the end of every year, Alana and I will sit down, we'll do some individual goals and we'll do some shared goals. And I always split goal setting into 7 areas: mental, physical, spiritual, financial, global social, as in social relationships, lifestyle, and business, career. And those areas allow me to encompass as much as possible so that I can spend time focusing on, you know, people often say, oh, what does a spiritual goal mean? Well, you know, it doesn't mean that you sit on a rock meditating in the Himalayas or, you go to Nepal. For me, spirituality is my connection to myself. When I feel connected to myself, for me, that's a spiritual experience. So I set goals in a spiritual area because I need to do things that make me feel connected to myself. If I'm giving all the time, then I start to resent it and I burn out. So I think it's, you know, as you said, it's important to have those different areas and distinguish between, you know, having a spiritual goal or a mental goal, whether it's learning another language, reading something, whatever, going to a breathwork retreat, whatever it is. Those things enable you to be a better individual in the other areas. And even though, you know, we live in a fast-paced modern society, there's not necessarily an ROI or a dollar value attached to that, but it allows you to perform better for longer. And that has a lot of value when you actually think about it.
And you know, you feel good. Like at the end of the day, the more you feel good inside yourself, the more you'll do good everywhere else.
Physically optimized. So health and fitness, what is your, let's shift gears a little bit. What's your personal approach to health and fitness? Do you own a fitness business, obviously? Do you practice what you preach?
Yeah, 100%. Only thing is I don't really have an ideal home gym just because we're constantly moving houses, but I will build the sickest home gym one day.
I'm in my home gym phase at the moment. The time, I like going to the gym. Do you go to the gym in the morning?
Yeah. Oh, no, I go in the evenings.
Okay. I like going to the gym in the morning. I like doing all my morning routine when everyone else is asleep because it makes me feel like I've won the day. That's when everyone that works in the 9 to 5 goes to the gym. The gym that I go to is always fucking busy and I hate it. And I'm like, I need my own home gym because it's annoying me now that the gym is busy, but I like going at the time that I go at, which is when everyone else goes. So and I don't need to go then, but I do.
This is my exact clientele. You know how we started saying, who's your clientele? You go through that phase. So we say that I don't want to sell you a permanent home gym because you're never going to use it. You're going to go through this phase of using it for 3 years and then it's going to go away. And then there's that next lot, you go back to your gym, right? And that's the like a lot of those guys spend a lot of money with us. That's my bread and butter.
Right.
Then you have like the serious home gym guys. Then you have those guys who just want something at home because they're just not sure about fitness. But in terms of my fitness goals, I think, you know, so as I said, like we go through, through life, I've always gymmed, but never to the thing that I want to be ripped or anything like that. Maybe because of lack of education as well on how to gym correctly. But when you go through life, you have a kid, you get married, you do this, you do that, you have your second kid. You go through those flows, whether, you know, you start and you stop and you start and you stop. I think the key thing is that every time I have stopped, everything goes down shit. Right. And every time I start it, everything just takes off like a rocket ship. So for me, my clear, distinct memory of you, and I think that's when I started messaging you, which was 2-3 years ago, is I just had my first kid, just had my first kid. And leading up to the kid, there was a lot of expectations, as you know, as you have. Oh, what's going to happen? How's this going to happen? Blah blah blah. You hear all these people saying your life's going to end, and you're too busy, and how will you manage a kid, and you'll never be at home, whatever. So I had the kid, and at that time I was a bit like, fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then I started seeing you post all that stuff, which was like, you're doing your daily walks or something. And I remember tagging you in your thing where I did my first night walk kind of thing. And that's the trigger for me that I started my running kind of madness now. Like now I'm trying to chase that 100K kind of plan. But for me, that was my constant thing going, look, it doesn't have to just be gym because I couldn't actually make it to the gym as we see during when you have your kids. So I just start running, right? So that's when my running phase started. So for me, as long as you're doing something regularly, it doesn't have to happen. If you miss a week, who cares? Just start next week. So for me, that was like big to start my fitness.
I think in today's world, we often see if I can't do this, then I just give it all away, right? And it's like first best is here. Well, if you can't do first best, do second.
Yeah.
If you can't do second, do third. Don't be like, oh, I can't do this today, so I'm just going to throw all the apples out the apple cart. Like at the end of the day, if you can't make it to the gym, go for a run. If you can't go for a run, go for a walk. If you can't go for a walk, maybe you do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups in the garage. Like there's a process of that's okay. I couldn't do that today, but I can do this. And I watched this. This has kind of been ingrained in my brain for a long time now. I watched this video years ago, and it was like, you miss a day, it's okay. You miss it 2 days in a row, it's the start of a new habit. And I listened to that, and I was like, I can't even remember where I heard it, but now if I miss the gym or if I miss something and it disrupts my routine, I have this little thing that comes online in my brain being like, that's fine, but you'll be going tomorrow. Absolutely not. It wouldn't matter if it's a Sunday or whatever it is. If there's a missed day, I'm like, cool. So tomorrow I'm making up for it.
Well, that's it. And I just, I think people just need to get out of that no mindset and, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. Or same thing, whether it's investing or starting a business or starting your workout journey. People just get discouraged in not knowing. And it's so sad.
So obviously this sort of ties into the family and the birth of your first kid. Have you gone through periods where you've let your health slip because of either business or external circumstances? And how did you get back on track? What's the motivating factor that got you back on track?
100%. We all do it. Yeah, I think I've gone through this like 4 times now. But I think it's like once you do it the first time and you realize and it actually hits in your head that going to the gym was the thing that got me out last time. Well, then you just know. Like right now, I've moved to Brisbane. Leading up to moving to Brisbane, it was all messy. My workout routine was a bit hard. I just wasn't doing it. I got to Brisbane. The first thing I did is join the gym, right?
Nice.
So locked in. I think I'm like starting to actually get a six-pack. I talk about not having a six-pack. But like just locked in, when you move to a new city, you don't have any friends. You don't have family. You don't have anything. So for me, now going to the gym is the perfect way. I've met 2-3 people there, right? Like, awesome.
Who are also into their health and fitness.
Yeah, who are just like-minded.
Maybe they've got a business. Maybe they're,
Yeah. And like, it's just, guys, if there's anyone listening to this and they are thinking about how do I change my life, just don't worry about money. Don't worry about anything. Start by just going to the gym, right? Talking to a few people in the gym. And that's it. That's all you'll do. And the endorphins and all that stuff that comes out of you from that positivity. So for me, it's also, like as I said at the start, for me, it's now going, that's a way for me to say I'm doing well. Like it's just my own way to give me a good pat on the back saying, fuck, man, you're doing really well. Just keep going. Because no one else is, right? So like you kind of have to give it to yourself.
I think it's the self-mastery game, right? And I think, you said it before, like if you're someone that's like trying to get from a place you're at to a place you're trying to get to, I think as humans, we always try and add. I've got to do more, be more, have more, buy more, acquire more. Most of the time, what's not working for you can be audited out, right? So like if someone's trapped in their circumstances, there'll be a handful of things that you can just cut and get rid of. Do that first. Then all of a sudden you've cleansed your palate. Now I've got time to go to the gym. I've got energy to go to the gym. I can go for a walk every day, etc. It's like we kind of have to flip the script on that. You don't need to add, buy, have, etc. Acquire. You can just say, actually, there's a few things in my life that aren't working for me. I'm just going to get rid of them.
Yeah, and the simplest way for me nowadays to do that is just block all the crap on social media. I don't follow so many people's stories on social media just because it's just so distracting. I literally have maybe 20 people that I actually aspire to be like. and I only follow their stories.
Yeah.
Right. And I just look at, so if I look at your stories, that means I actually aspire to be like you.
Yeah.
Everyone else, just
You
don't
don't
give a
watch.
fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's either like too much of this or too much of that and too much of this or too little of this. And you sit there going, well, I don't want to be like this guy.
Yeah.
And the minute you do that change, because 90% of our time is all on our phones.
Yeah.
Right. So the minute you change the fact that you're looking at the right people on social media, your mind will trigger in a different way.
Yeah.
Like moving to Brisbane, I only followed people in Brisbane that I aspired to be like.
Yeah.
Now, as part of that, what happened to me internally, I'm like, oh yeah, it gave me a knowledge of the location where things are at as well. But it also just allowed me to think slightly differently, going, well, people in Brisbane are a lot more fit, a lot more active, a lot more this, a lot more that. So that's the kind of guy I want to be if I want to meet people here, if I want to be, make the business kind of work in a particular way. And naturally, it just helps you, tick in the right way.
I'm going to change the conversation to family a little bit. You've got 2 small children. I have a 16 weeks today. He is a 16-week-old son now. What values are you trying to instill in your kids? What kind of legacy do you want to leave them?
I think about that a lot. And I think for me, it comes down to just myself, like how I feel I am. You know, I was talking to Larissa the other day, and I think I just can't see anyone do the wrong to anyone. And like that, like just irks me to like any extent. So even with the girls, like, if one's doing the wrong to the other, I have to stop. I have to explain to them, like, you just did this to your sister. You know, we're not doing that. So for me, the number one thing is like just do the right thing, no matter what. Like, you know, even if you're in the wrong, you always have to do the right thing. Right. So for me, accepting that, plus whenever you are at fault, accept it. Like, you know, yesterday I got asked a very personal question, like, if you were not to be the CEO, like, if someone was to fire you from being a CEO, what would that be? Yeah. So for me to vocalize my biggest fault, which I am the only one who knows, and say it, that just means that I am accepting to, like, I'm sorry, I did that, I do this.
You're accountable.
I do need to learn. I don't know how to, if someone can help me, yeah, sure. But that's the same thing I want the girls to learn, which is, like, if you're at fault, accept it. And say you're sorry, move on, right? A lot of people don't say sorry. It surprises me. Like, you know, like when someone's at fault, they'll just be arrogant, they'll just walk away, they'll just be like, oh yeah, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
So for me, like, one is just, you know, do the right thing. And number two, for me initially, is just when you're done something wrong, accept it, say you're sorry and move on. Like those are the few things.
Be responsible, do the right thing. Good, love it. Okay, so few more questions, couple more questions. I know you're into cars. What are you driving right now? What have you got on the way? Anything you can share?
Yeah, I do. But like, you know, I have a Revolta on order. It's actually here.
Is it?
Am I going to take it? I'm not sure.
Really? Okay. Why?
You know, I have a love-hate relationship with cars. And as we grow, you know, we change. We're going, well, why am I buying these cars?
Yeah.
And when you actually realize that, one, there's the passion for cars, which you can get from driving a shitbox. If I just bought an S15, the same big-ass smile that I wanted from that Lambo.
800 horsepower, 32 with a sequential, you would have just as much fun.
I would just be as happy as I am with a Lambo.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, we make those decisions based on lifestyle creep, right? Like, oh, this guy has this guy has this. And that is why I come down to not following certain people on social media, because sometimes you do things that are not supposed to be done. So for me, that is one of it. But the same way I look at cars, I look at buying a house that I live in. The feeling that you have when you buy a house that you live in, you're paying 10, 15 grand in your mortgage, you can't do anything with that money. The same thing with this house, this Lambo. Yes, the house, it will also grow. And it will make you some money. And the car, the Lambo, will also maybe meet some amazing people and you'll network and you might do some business with them. Yeah. But they're both shit fucking investments, right? Yet they somehow bring some ROI in some certain senses. But the same 500 grand or the same 500 grand in that house, what could I do differently? If someone gave me 500 grand right now and I started my own business, I would be 10x that versus that 10x that car.
Yeah.
And that same recognition that I wanted from that car by people saying Nav has this Lambo, I would get by them recognizing the fact that Nav grew this crazy ass business from that 500 grand. And I'd rather them recognize me with that than that car.
Yeah. And the business has the potential to afford you 10 Lambos in 5 years' time.
Correct.
Whereas,
like, you know, these days the flex is in flex, is in what business do you run and how big you grow it.
Yeah.
Right? No one really gives a shit about like what car you drive.
Yeah.
Because anyone can get a car.
Correct.
Right?
You go to Dubai and there's rented
Yeah.
Lambos everywhere now.
So yeah, at the moment, I have a few cars. Don't take me in the wrong way that would I not buy a Lambo, I would fucking still buy a Lambo.
Yeah.
Because that is the kid in us.
Yeah.
Right? But should you be one who doesn't really give a shit about cars and you think that is what you need to network with people, fuck, you're wrong. Because should you build your name in whether you're an accountant or lawyer or a business person or an e-com guy, build your name in that. Because like become the best accountant, become the best e-com guy, become the thing. People will recognize you and they will come. And to tie it all on, talk about that.
Yeah.
The same way we take photos about our cars and we share all these amazing cars we have. Talk about the business that you did. It's the same flex.
Yeah.
Right? I grew this. I now won this contract. I now do this. I just got this promotion. I got this. Talk that on social media. People are going to get that attention you wanted.
I think it's just an extension of you, right? Like we spoke about this at that event yesterday, this whole personal branding craze. Personal branding is perceived to be very, very difficult. It's just an extension of you as an individual. Your thing is commercial property, it's flex fitness, it's health as well. Yeah. Mine is health, wealth, mindset. I've got a personal development business. I've got a trading education platform. All I do really is talk about and spend time on the things that I like. And therefore my personal brand is an extension of that. And I feel like, as you're saying, like the way to kind of hack into that is I don't need to buy an expensive car to show people who I am and what I'm about. All I need to do is spend time, money, and energy on the things that I already do, which I like doing and I'm inspired about. Broadcast, talk about, spend time on my content, focusing on those areas.
That's it. And people before didn't have social media, right? So they had to do this big house, this big car, and this big fucking everything else.
Yeah.
Because no one else would recognize you otherwise. Yeah. But now you just put a couple of videos online. People know you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You don't need to have the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Cool.
Crazy.
So, a couple questions to wrap up because we need to shake a leg. I asked you a couple of questions at an event yesterday, and I'm actually going to ask these questions on every podcast, every guest. So, 3 questions actually, rapid fire. Piece of advice from your life that you would be willing to share that you would give to the audience.
Piece of advice from my life. I would strongly suggest that you think carefully. Oh, fuck. One piece of advice that I would give to everyone is, think carefully about what business you go into, how many businesses you go into, and who you go into it with.
Cool. Second question, what's the most profound experience you've had in your life, and would you be willing to share it?
Most profound experience that I've had in my life, yesterday we talked about it, and I said the most profound feeling that I had was when I had a big motorbike accident. I woke up in the hospital, my leg was kind of broken, whatever, and I started overdosing on morphine because I just kept pressing that button. And I disappeared, I saw the big white light, and I was like, fuck, I'm dead. And then I kind of came back to, and I just saw doctors and all my family everywhere. And that's the minute that I realized that the people who are in that room are closest to me. And to actually, now when I stop and I think about it, initially I was just like, it's just people, fuck, I'm 20 or whatever. And now when I go and think about it, I'm like, well, those are the people that I care most about. That was a very strange feeling. Second to that, you triggered me to think about my kid as well. That birthing experience is like just a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So when I went and had my first baby, that was like, as a guy, I was just crying like crazy.
Yeah, same. I can't use any of the videos or photos from the birthing room because I'm just beside myself. And
So for me, that was definitely a surreal moment.
Okay, cool. And the last question, what's the greatest thing that someone else has ever done for you?
Yeah, and I think for me, it comes down to the sacrifices Larissa, my partner, has made for me. I forced her, I think, now that I think hard at it. All my businesses, like the F45s, when I did really well and we sold them all for a fuckload of money, she's the one who sacrificed her passion in her career to start those businesses and run them for me. So she was my main man, like main woman to kind of run all those businesses. So for me, the sacrifice that she's made, whether it was starting the business and the passion that I wanted to do, she sort of was forced to do it, or family and stuff like that, and the sacrifices that she still makes. So for me, that is the number one thing.
Cool, very good. I think that wraps it up. Do you want to tell people where they can find you and how to connect with you?
Yeah, cool. Finance with Nav on social media, or just pop into Flex Brisbane. I'm there for the next few months.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Guys, if you found this useful or valuable, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and tag someone who could benefit from the conversation we just had. And we'll see you all on the next one.